And so what you can see there, and hopefully there's the north arrow there to help you orient yourself, but this field as well as the field to the north, we put in, installed some tile drainage this year, went in mid-May. Took a while had to wait for the snow to come off, which was a little different from last year. And so we got that installed in mid-May. There's 6 hole plots then that are being managed either as drained or undrained. And so although they all have drain lines in them, we've got control structures that we can actually manage the drainage with those. And so for now, we're looking at drained versus undrained just to get a good apples to apples comparison of what the drainage impact is on yields, at least in this location in South Dakota. Certainly a lot of anecdotal evidence of the yield benefits of drainage, but not much as far as replicated studies in this part of the country. And so that's something we're interested in, trying to put some better numbers to those. And again, after last year, I wasn't optimistic that we were going to see much this year, but if you saw on the tour brochure that they had, they've got the precipitation that they had here in Beersford in May, and they got that big slug of rain there in May. And actually, as we were pulling in the tiles, we had a few of these that started running immediately at 4 feet deep. And then the rain that came after that, we actually had a water table up on the undrained plots just below the soil surface. And so you can actually see here to the north, you're looking at soybeans that were planted June 3rd, once it dried out enough that they could get in and plant those. This undrained area here to the south then, they couldn't get into there till June 18th. So we got about a 2-week difference there in planting date just from that drainage impact. And so this first year we're going to see an immediate treatment effect. And so as a researcher, that was nice to see after last year not expecting to see much. And you can see actually there's still an area there that was still too wet in that undrained area that they couldn't get in and get that planted. So immediate effect that showed up there. Again, we've got control structures here that we can use to control what we're doing with the drainage. We built in flexibility in these plots, so then in the future we can look at a number of different things. We can look at shallow versus deep drainage. We can look at managed drainage versus just conventionally drained soils. And so we built in some flexibility to look at a number of things. You can see as far as the measurements, we will be looking at how drainage affects a number of things, how it affects soil moisture, how it affects yield, of course, soil temperature. What's that mean as far as soil temperatures? And of course, we know that when those soils are wet in the spring, that they tend to be cooler. And so how much of a difference do we see from having that drainage there on warming those soils up sooner? Also looking at impacts on conductivity and salinity, water table depth, of course, and then also looking at some water quality impacts. And so within these 6 hole plots, we have those split in half, and so half of those plots will get conventional fall nitrogen applications. The other half will then get a nitrogen stabilizer, trying to keep that out of the nitrate form longer. And so we'll see what that impact that has on nitrate losses coming out of those tile lines. And so some water quality impacts there too. And so all fitting in with kind of the larger theme of the research that we're doing, trying to come up with strategies for managing drain landscapes to maximize profitability, but also minimize some of the environmental impacts. So kind of with that brief introduction, if folks want to step off and take a look at the control structures, I suppose many of you may not have seen these before, but it'll give you an idea of kind of how those work. If you don't want to, we've also got a tabletop version over here too that you're welcome to take a look at. But if anybody wants to come take a look at the control structures up close, happy to walk you out there and show you how those work. And again, so we've got 3 control structures in each plot. This one really is what controls the water level in the whole plot. The other 2 then are on the middle line within the 3 lines that we've got in the plot. And so really what that's doing is we're isolating to make sure we're only capturing water from within the plot. We're not pulling in any water from any adjacent fields, so that we're making sure we're just capturing water from the treatment that we want. So really those are just for flow measurement and water sampling. Here we're actually managing the water level. This one again is managed as undrained, so we've got stop logs all the way to the top here. But there's just a rod here. There's little hooks on these stop logs then, and so
you're not backing up any water right now?
We actually are. It's a little tough to tell, but we're a little higher on this side than we are on that back side. So that's water that's just backed up from the outlet, but we are holding a little bit in the field. So there's water at about 3.5 feet down right now is where it's at. So yeah, we can raise or lower these stop logs, and that controls the water level that we're managing our drainage for.
How are they for frost?
They've been using these in North Dakota and Minnesota so far without any ill impact. I do know some people that will take just kind of those foam noodles like kids use when they're swimming, and they'll shove some of those down there over winter just to provide a little bit of insulation. But yeah, it seems like they tend to overwinter pretty well.
They're talking a square object.
Right, right. And so again, we're really just looking at drained versus undrained. If you were managing these for crop production, then typically what you would do is just pull all those boards out in the spring, a couple weeks before you're thinking about getting out in the field. Let that all drain out, and then once you've planted, sprayed, done some of those other spring operations, you'd put some boards in, maybe to about 2.5 feet below the soil surface. And then if you do get some timely spring rains, you can hold a little bit of water back that hopefully there in the summer is available for that crop to use. And so some of the studies out of the Midwest, they've seen in some cases a 5 to 10% yield bump from being able to manage that drainage water and potentially save some water. So
What diameter is this?
these, because it's pretty small plots, this is just 4-inch tile. Then we've got a couple 6-inch collectors running on the side. These are 4 feet down. Yep. The ones that we're draining, we're actually managing them as if they were at 3 feet. So we've got the boards in for a foot just to manage it at 3 feet.
It's about an $800 deal.
Yeah, this structure here is about an $800 structure. NRCS does cost share these, and so if you're using it, you'd have to ask NRCS for sure. But if it's part of a drainage water management plan, there is some cost share available on these. AgriDrain, the people that make these, and really the only people in the U.S. that manufacture these, is coming out with a lower cost version as well.
I know they have one for inline too.
Yep.
I don't know how that one works.
And I should have brought one with me, but basically it's a cylinder that sits in line with the tile. It's got a set of weighted floats in it, and basically they're weighted such that it will hold a foot of water pressure behind it. So you still have to have one of these at the outlet where you set the water level you want, and then every foot you move up in elevation in the field, you would put those in with the tile. And so you set the level here, it backs up water in the line, raises those floats and closes a little flap valve, and then if you should get enough rain that you need some drainage, it gets above that 1 foot that you want to hold. That provides enough pressure to open up that valve again and let some water drain out. As soon as it gets back to that 1 foot, it slaps it shut again and holds that water there. So a pretty nifty little thing because once you get these out in the field, it becomes a pain to have to farm around them. And so you still need one of these near the outlet, but you can keep that off the field and then have those inline ones out up in the field.
Any problems with blowouts, where your connectors are?
And there can be. That's why when you're putting these in, you want to have about 20 feet of non-perforated tile on both sides of it. And then typically you would put an anti-seep collar around that pipe just to buy yourself some time until that soil kind of redistributes and settles around in the trench. And so, yeah, by having that non-perforated pipe there on either side, that keeps it from blowing out.